A kinetic visual novel, don't know what that means, composed of 2 short stories made for the Halloween season. Yay! That's that's this month. Uh, I was reading it. I thought there was 3 of those 2. First one is Dead Letters, which is probably the first one. A man working at the post office opens a letter not meant for his eyes. How dare he? That's illegal. And he learns something he shouldn't. And in Vamp Me, Jan arrives home after a Halloween party only to be met with an unexpected sight. She didn't do the dishes. Pumpkin. Trick or treat? What? What? I want to know what happens if you do trick. What's the trick? Dead Letters is a creepy short story. Read Dead Letters? Read Dead... Wait, what? Wait, no, I want to know what the treat is. Can I go back? Sure. Dead Letters. Alright, I can push spacebar. Written by Sadie DeForest. Ooh, creepy. A tribute to weird tales of problematic faith. Have you ever wondered what happens to mail that can't be delivered? Kinda. Wrong addresses, letters bound for demolished buildings, sent to dead friends and relatives, incorrect post stamps, and no return to sender. Maybe you've heard of the Dead Letters office. A morbid name to be sure. Something about these ink-stained and paper-wrapped professions that attract these kinds of morbid names. Newspapers have their morgues and night wires, and the post office has dead letters. But much like the other 2 institutions, there's rarely much to write home about the Dead Letters office. It's mostly perfectly mundane little missives? Yeah, that have nowhere to go, to be destroyed, and never read. Well, that's a shame. Someone should read them. I mean, if no one's gonna be reading them, it's like, why not? It's like, you can't do that. Dead on arrival. It would probably surprise very few of my readers to know, however, that many dead letters are read. The kind of tedious work that goes into the job has driven many of fellow dead letter men to crack open an envelope just to kill the monotony. Honestly, I'd read it. I mean, you're not supposed to read other people's mail, but it's like, this is gonna go in the trash, right? Or be burned or something. You might as well. Like I said, it's mostly nothing, but occasionally you get something. A juicy love letter, some secret of Don Juan. What? Is that like Jane Doe? I don't know. Sent to a well-to-do lady about town. A politician writing to a local mob boss. A pastor writing to a shady contact about some bootleg hooch. What? You're never surprised why they didn't put a return address. These kind of letters sometimes are a wellspring of local gossip, but most dead letters clerks know not to press their luck. Sometimes it's better to leave well enough alone with dead letters. Take, for example, a clerk I used to work with. Former clerk, I should say. He's currently serving life in a state, but it's because you read the letter. It's like, you go to jail. I won't say which one or what his name was, but it made the national news. He found a letter addressed to his wife, but the sender forgot to include any address whatsoever. It was her lover. Secret lover. She was cheating on him. Now, who could be writing to my wife? He must have thought, opening the letter. The postman was who? Wait. Well, a couple shots of hard liquor he had been saving since the day prohibition went into effect later. Both the missus and the offending postman have a bullet between their eyes, and he's being hauled downtown. Oh. Okay, so she was cheating on him with the postman. Personally, I don't read any dead letters that cross my desk anymore. But it would kill you to... Well, it killed them. It your curiosity. I'm turned too much to the... A little better? Just don't look at chat. Like you see a letter addressed to like your wife, like you're gonna want to open it. What if it's like addressed to you, and then you never got it? Not because of the clerk above. No, that spooked me for a bit, but before too long, I was back at it with a real zeal. But what? It was the night a letter crossed my desk, bound for an address in a city called Sanders, that broke my habit. I wonder if the other choices would have led to this anyways. Now, this particular letter did have a return address. The sender was from a city called Encos. These are fake, right? I promise you, dear reader, if you buy any atlas, you could search the rest of your life and never find a city called Sanders and Eck. Okay, just making sure. I still remember both addresses as clear as day. From Dr. Johnson W. Bryant, 245 Arnold Street, Encos, to Dr. Samuel Dean, 510 North, Haverbrook Street, Sanders. It's about a secret virus or something, or the cure to cancer, and they never found it. Or this letter got lost, so I don't know. The letter read as follows. We'll get to find out. Why the music change? Dear Dr. Dean, this is in response to your last letter, of course. I hope my letter finds you well. Well, about that. As for me, the past 3 weeks since I last wrote, I have made great strides in our mutual feat of interest. You certainly were on the money with your suggestion of human corpses. Suggestion of human corpses as a storage conduit for the entities our little devices have been pulling it down out of the air. I admit I was reluctant to try it at first. The ghoulish process of procuring the cadaver is not one I wish to recount in detail. And lowering the cold mass of flesh into the vat of black mist touched my heart with icy fingers. Of fear anticipated. That word. I can't. That ruined it. The dog and apes I had used previously. No, not the dogs! You monster. Had initially thrilled me with their twitching and jerking reanimation when they had touched their living mist, but a human corpse produced, as you intimated, much more satisfying and remarkable results. The mist immediately hugged itself to the surface of the slightly desiccated body. I'm kicking myself not for putting in the work to obtain a fresher specimen. And the vocal cords that should have been forever silenced immediately vibrated into a strange and otherworldly life. The voice gave a horrendous shriek and began talking in what was clearly a language, but not one created to be spoken with the limitations of the human body. After what sounded like random gibbering, it eventually set into a kind of chant. The best I can record is it as follows. Do we get to hear it, or just read it? Yeah, I'm not reading that. I'm with some demon or something. Yeah, I'm not reading. I'm not gonna read that. What it means, as you might imagine, I couldn't possibly guess. I've done many things to try and communicate with the body, which is still alive, but while it does seem to respond to stimuli, it has not as yet changed its constant refrain. Eagerly anticipating your next letter and an update on your progress with the device. Your friend, Dr. Johnson W. Bryant. As you might guess, this letter unsettled me, but I immediately decided it must have been some bizarre prank or hoax. I mean, if it was, then it's like to send to someone? Or send... It's like, it would make no sense if it'd just be lost forever. Send out enough of these phony letters in the hopes of spooking some dishonest mail clerk like myself. Yeah, that must be it. It can't be real, right? Maybe not the most believable explanation, but certainly more believable than the letter itself. I put the letter aside and went back to sorting and recording the envelopes on my desk. To my great horror, I soon came across another one bearing the same names and address with the to and from reversed, posted 3 weeks before the first letter I read. So we got this. Also, we can see the one he was responding to. Oh boy. Dear Dr. Johnson W. Bryant. Well, color me surprised, old friend. I built the devices you described and the infernal machine works. Now that the egg's on my face, I suppose it doesn't hurt to say that your previous letter describing the... Did we get to read the other one? Just previous letter describing the device had led me to believe you'd taken leave of your senses. It was only with great reluctance and respect for an old colleague that I built the thing, according to the blueprints you were kind enough to send. My trepidation held even as it whirled and rumbled to life, and a strange black mist formed in the collecting vat. The mist had convinced me that your device did something, but surely it couldn't reanimate the dead. How wrong I was. My first experiment was with a rat, which, to my greatest surprise, intended to walk on its forelegs and give the most otherworldly squeaks and chittering I ever heard. It continued to ambulate in the grotesque fashion for some 15 minutes before collapsing back into the state of death. Black mist dissipating from the body into the air and fading away. I shudder to think what this strange living mist, and I'm sure that it is some kind of living being, would do when exposed to a human corpse. Perhaps, and this might simply be a wild flight of imagination, it could even use a human body as a conduit for speech. Yours, Dr. Samuel Dean. It was simply too much to believe. The letter I had previously read had been in response to another undeliverable letter. It must be, I thought, an elaborate hoax, but for whose benefit was beyond me. I tried to put it out of my mind as I got back to the monotonous task of checking, sorting, and making an inventory of the piles of forsaken postage that I had to get through before the end of my shift. I put it out for another week, resisting the temptation to open anything that crossed my desk. But eventually, another letter arrived from the venerable Dr. Johnson W. Bryant. The thing gave off an acrid and sour smell and was covered in what appeared to be ink stains. My base and ancient fears told me that to immediately destroy the thing, but my logical and modern mind told me that nothing in the plain white envelope could hurt me. Not physically. This part of me, and not small amount of curiosity, got the better of me in the end. Dear Dr. Jean. The lack of a response to my last letters caused a great deal of concern, and I only hope that I am not reaching you too late. I urge you to destroy the device. No good can come from its use. I hope you do so before reading another word of this letter. I have only just recently destroyed my device. Its unholy black smoke is still burning in my skin and eyes, and I can only hope that I have put its evil behind me. The horrible thing spoke to me. Its monastic chanting broke into English. I don't believe what it was saying had changed, but rather suddenly it made sense to me. It's difficult to describe, and I can only pray that you have not had this experience. Its words no longer sound to me like those words, but rather they rang clear as day as, "Let us in to feast." Hearing those words as English flooded my mind with demonic visions. Visions of cities awash with blood and dark flames, great clouds of black mist sweeping the lands, and horrible rotting corpses crawling about and feasting on the living. I implore you to destroy the device as I have. Dr. Bryant. So zombies. Basically, that's kind of that's kind of terrifying. Like zombies that can actually talk. It was becoming more and more outlandish, hardly worth taken seriously. I was ready to dismiss it as a hoax, as bad bit of ghoulish storytelling, but I noticed another letter, addressed in a crude hand to Dr. Bryant. That it looked like they were written not with ink, but in some mixture of blood and dirty rainwater. This time there was no return address. The envelope smelled of the crypt and felt slightly damp to the touch. I doubt I will live to the day where I can forget what was written within. Dr. Bryant. Dean is no more. Sanders is no more. It was simply that. Since that day, I haven't opened a single dead letter or even felt the temptation. I replaced this old vice with drinking, but I can't forget. Sometimes dead letters cross my desk with other outlandish city names like Lang, Taunts, Akbar, and Sabigo. Sometimes they have that smell. Sometimes the addresses are written in blood and dirty rainwater, but I have destroyed them along with all the love letters that I will never read. I still dream of those letters from Sanders and Echoes. I still dream of those ill-fated doctors. I tell myself that it was all a hoax 1,000 times and more, but I feel like I've lived those lives in their squalid and dungeon-like urban laboratories. And I see their infernal device. It's so simple, it would be the easiest thing for even I, a man with no scientific skill, to build, and the cemeteries here have no guards. And I could smell that necrid scent in my nose. And I reach once more for the sweet oblivion of the bottle. The end. Well, that was kind of... Huh. That was interesting.